My Wednesday night live stream where you can ask me anything about the science of love because I've been reading about it just for you. Oh, good. I'm able to see it. If you've just joined me, tell me where you're watching from. It's always nice to see where the community is all around the world. So plunk down the name of your country, state, hometown, if you think I'd recognize it. And now we're coming on board over here. Hi, StreamYard. And that lets me say hello to, let me open up comments there, YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and a whole bunch of other places. But hello, TikTok. It's been a while. Hi, South Korea. Hi, Oregon. How are you? Good to see you. You're just up the road. I'm in California. Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica. Oh, bet it's warmer there than it is here. It's actually very cold in California right now. We're having cold winds. Some big rain is coming in, but we need it, so that's good. If you're new to me and my social media, I'm known as America's relationship expert because I have been reading about and writing about the science of love for quite a few decades. I've written 3 books on relationships. My dissertation was on attachment theory. I'm not a therapist. I'm a psychology professor, and I love to educate people on the science so that they can use it in their own lives. Okay, I see Facebook coming on. We have hello, Garden Grove. Hi, Kev. You're coming on my Patreon later. The reason why I do this 10-minute live stream is I like to let you guys know that every Wednesday at 6:30 Pacific time, which is about 27 minutes from now, I have a private Patreon Zoom room, and you can be part of that room. If you're shy, you don't have to have your camera on. Some people are in time zones where they're in their pajamas. And we just have a lovely conversation and debate about different aspects of human behavior and the science of love. And if you'd like to join the Zoom room, you just go to patreon.com/Dr. Wendy Walsh. That's patreon.com/Dr. Wendy Walsh. But, hi, Iowa. Oh, you're in a blizzard too? Ooh. When am I on KFI? Yes, they changed the time. I'm so excited. Dr. Wendy After Dark now. I always felt my content would be better for evenings rather than afternoons. So finally got my way. And so my new time slot live on KFI AM 640 radio is every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Yeah, so cozy down in your jammies, bring your dinner, whatever, 7 to 9, we're going to talk the science of love. Oh, Ryan, thank you. You're a big fan, you say, and you listen to KFI every Sunday. Let me post your comment because that's a nice comment to post up there. No, my husband. Okay, so I just want to say this about, I'm sorry you lost your husband. I'm happy you met a wonderful man. It's an adjustment for adult kids too. But it's important that you understand that they have a schema in their head of what their family looked like. That part of their grieving of their own loss of their father is redirecting the sadness onto, now could you possibly be abandoning me, mommy? And so be patient. It will take time. Now, if they're worried that you're being tricked, bamboozled, taken advantage of, I hope you're not giving money to him or anything else, then pay attention to what your adult kids are saying. But on the other hand, if they're just feeling the loss of the shape, the schema of their family of origin, it just takes time. It takes a lot of time. The love of my life I met almost 3 years ago, and we all have, he and I both have adult kids, and they vacillate between accepting and not accepting it. Oh, well, that's part of it. That's part of their journey. We have to allow them sometimes to feel sad or feel angry. It's not our job to make them happy all the time. Oh, you were a close family. I'm sorry. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but it will take time. And don't force it. Invite him to everything. If he doesn't want to come, don't be offended. Eventually, he will come around because they will see that this is the new way. If you have any other questions, you can post them here, and I'll be happy. It's hard for me to see up there, to lean up. And if you'd like to post it from Facebook or YouTube, you certainly can over here. That's a really good question. How can I validate myself and stop the habit of searching people validation, attention, and love? You know, human beings, and I think evolutionary psychologists would agree with me, human beings are a many one-brained species. We don't do well alone. We don't do well in isolation. Probably the worst fear of any human in our history would have been to be abandoned by the tribe, left out in the cold to die. So we have a very real need to want to have acceptance from the tribe. However, in order to be an authentic, independent person, we have to learn to love ourselves even when we're not fully accepted by everyone in the tribe. In simple language, you can't please everyone. You can't make everyone happy. You need to, as my therapist said to me, and I'll pass it along to you, listen to your stomach. If your stomach is happy doing something, being something, dressing a certain way, making decisions, then go with your stomach, because eventually there will be people out there who will endorse you and stick with you, and you're going to find your people, right? Trying to meld yourself and be a bunch of other people to make other people happy is not the way to go. That's a great fear. My long-term boyfriend has an underlying belief that everything has to be perfect before we get married. Well, how do I say this nicely? You might not become the best of husbands because life is very imperfect. In fact, every single day of our lives, in my opinion, is a series of problems to be solved, new problems. There's no such thing as a perfect partner. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship. What we have are beautiful challenges in front of us every day that help us grow. And so if you think life has to be perfect or someone else has to be perfect, I think it might be his own insecurities about what he imagines it's supposed to feel like. So I worry about perfectionist people. I think it's a form of anxiety. I really do. Okay, any more questions? I'm only going to do a couple minutes here, and then I'm heading over to my Patreon Zoom room, and you can join it if you like. Go to patreon.com/Dr. Wendy Walsh. What do you think about moving in with my boyfriend around the first year mark? Depends. I can only quote the research, the data, and give you statistical probabilities. Depends on your age. Depends on whether you're planning to get married and have already set a wedding date. It depends what you want to do. Now, listen, you can have plenty of short-term relationships. You can move in with each other because guess what? You can move out if things don't work, right? Buying a house together, that would be a whole different thing. However, if the research says that if you're young, under the age of 25, that is probably the highest. Actually, the research says under the age of 23 has the highest divorce rate. What we know about cohabitation, according to the data, is this, that people who cohabitate before marriage actually have less chance that they'll get married. And then if they do get married, they have a higher divorce rate. Now let's break this down. Why? Who are the people who move in together? They're the ones that want to dip one toe in. They don't want to go all the way and get married because they're not sure. So they just want to dip one toe in. And they're fearing divorce, which is why they don't want to get married, because they fear divorce. And so those are the ambivalent people that are more susceptible to divorce. You know, commitment is an intellectual decision. Now, if you're young and you're doing it to just save money, then understand it may not lead where you may want it to lead. It's just a temporary thing for you guys to save money and be roommates. And that's okay too. There are no rules. It just depends what your end goal is. If you want to live with somebody for a year or so and then move out and break up, whatever, fine. No rule. There are no rules. But if you're hoping, let's say let's go with 28 to 32, and you're in your fertility window and you want to have babies and you want a traditional marriage, then you don't move in together. You put a wedding date on the calendar and say, I'll move in with you. Actually, there was one exception to that data I read about moving in, and it was people who moved in to save money before the wedding and actually had a wedding date on the planner, on the calendar, and they were, doing all the work to it. They had the same divorce rate as everybody else. What do you think about dating a man who has less money and I have to pay more? Well, I want to remind everybody that we are in a time of history where we are seeing an oversupply of successful women in the mating marketplace. And they sometimes regard a man with less money as less than, which is not necessarily true. Relationships are an exchange of care. That care can take so many forms. It can be, emotional support care, Maybe he's really emotionally supportive. It can be physical affection care. It can be instrumental care if you're really sick and they care for you. It can be intellectual stimulation care. It can be domestic care. I mean, my boyfriend does more in the way of laundry and dishes than any other human who's ever lived in my house in my life, right? So you have to look at it all. It's a big exchange. It could be sexual care, could be child care, so many ways that couples exchange care. Financial care is one of them. And it doesn't have to be equal if they're pulling their weight in other ways. You have to look at it as a whole in a big picture. How long have I been married? I did a big white Catholic wedding for my mother when I was 21 years old. I know, I was in college. That lasted until I graduated from college. And then I was a player chick. I had a lot of short-term relationships. I was in therapy trying to figure out what was going wrong and why I couldn't find one of those bad boys that would commit to me. And I learned about attachment, learned that I had an anxious attachment style, learned how to heal it. I ended up being with somebody who I lived with, and we had 2 children, and ended up being a single mother for 18 years. And now I met the love of my life right before I hit an empty nest. So it's a really nice feeling. You know, when Till Death Do Us Part was invented, death was pretty imminent. And even the most monogamous of humans may have 2 or 3 long stints of monogamy in their lifespan with some mate selection in between. We call that dating. I never judge a relationship based on duration. I judge a relationship on quality. And when you've stopped growing, it's time to break up. Relationships should help you grow. They're a gymnasium for your mind. There's something to tangle with so you can learn more about yourself and someone else. So with that said, I am heading over to my Patreon Zoom room. It opens up in about 15 minutes. If you'd like to join me, just go to Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/Dr. Wendy Walsh. And I'm there every Wednesday at 6:30. It's always my pleasure to be here. And of course, you can always listen to me on KFI AM 640 every Sunday from now, 7 to 9 p.m. And you can listen anytime on the iHeart Radio app. Cool, right? All right. See you next Wednesday. Bye. All right. First, I go to StreamYard and the